Krishna. Hogya. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Welcome to ISKCON of Silicon Valley. Hare Krishna. We're still floating from last night. We had a 2-hour kirtan down at Nandi Yoga. I don't know about any of you who came last night, but it was a reminder of how powerful the chanting of the holy names is, because I woke up happy, and for no reason. I have a lot of things to be unhappy about or to be concerned about. Seem to be so concerned. So this process of contacting the Supreme Personality of Godhead through His divine potencies, and especially the holy name, which is non-different from the Lord Himself. Apana samsritim goran yanama vibhishogranam. Those who are entangled in sansritim, means birth and death, they can even be extricated by chanting the holy name. This is how powerful it is. There are ways in which the Shastras say that it's very difficult to get out of the material world, not the least of which is the verse we discussed last week, Daivahi eshu gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. It's very difficult to get out of this mess. And people try in various ways. We hear from Sri Brahma Samhita that yogis drill the respiration. They try to control their senses independently. That is, by their own strength. But through bhakti, by simply depending on the holy name, even an ordinary person, even a fallen person, even a low-born person, even a person who doesn't know much about bhakti, even a person, as the Bhagavatam says, with their eyes closed, will not trip and fall on the path of bhakti, because one takes shelter of the supreme potency of the Lord, as mentioned also by Shukadeva Goswami, Kirata Hunandra Pulinda Pulkasha Abhira Shumba Yavanaka Saraya. Yenecha Papa Yarapashraya Shaya Shudyanti Tasmai Prabhavishnave Namaha. Doesn't matter what low-born position you're from, because of the power of Lord Vishnu, if you simply depend on that, then you'll be delivered. And the main means by which to take shelter of the Lord directly, one might ask that, where is He? And how do I take shelter of Him? Is answered by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He says, depend on the holy names and enter into a life of dependence on the holy name and take shelter there. You really can get shelter by the holy name. Even those who chant unknowingly, unwittingly, they get benefit. What to speak of somebody who understands the science behind it, who knows that there are various energies in the universe, that some are divine, and that some are mundane because they've been affected by material consciousness. And that such a person also understands the science of the holy names. The Lord has names that are very intimate, that are very special to Him. And if you chant those names, especially as they're passed down from a guru through disciplic succession, then there's the added feature that you're chanting in submission, taking shelter of someone. Then the potency of that is enough. Samsritim Goran, one can be delivered from the cycle of birth and death, which is the biggest event that could happen in this world. Everything else is pretty predictable, that everyone goes on being stuck with the way they are, and even if they think they're not stuck, then they get swept back under and they have to start over again in a new life. One can be delivered from that just by chanting the holy names. Let's first take shelter of the Brahma Samhita this morning, because it's one of the favorite books of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he recommended it to all his disciples, and that's been a tradition for over 500 years, that Gaudiya Vaishnavas under Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu take shelter of this book daily. And this Brahma Samhita gives in a summary form all the philosophy of Gaudiya Vaishnavism. And it includes a description of the spiritual world, which you won't find in the New York Times, or the New Yorker, or the Washington Post, or MSNBC, or anywhere else. They're not going to give you a description of the spiritual world. Right, Mukharvind? Yes. Okay. So let's look at the English first. How is everyone today? Happy because it's raining, right? Free water for everybody, the source of life. Free car wash. Every raindrop has a nucleus. That's how raindrops form. That's why after volcanic eruptions, there's more rain, because there's more particulate matter in the air. The condensation in the air is able to form into drops. That's how they try to seed clouds sometimes, is put particulate matter in the air so it doesn't actually wash your car. That's why after a small rain, you'll notice your car's dirtier than it was before. I just thought I'd add that as a bonus tip for this morning. Krishna, we can read together, who is known as Govinda, is the Supreme Godhead. He has an eternal, blissful, spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. The spiritual place of transcendental pastimes of Krishna is portrayed in this second verse. I hope you have 20/20 vision. The super excellent station of Krishna, which is known as Gokula, has thousands of petals and a corolla like that of a lotus, sprouted from a part of his infinitary aspect. The whorl of the leaves being the actual abode of Krishna. The whorl of that transcendental lotus is the realm wherein dwells Krishna. It is a hexagonal figure, the abode of the indwelling, predominated and predominating aspect of the Absolute. Like a diamond, the central supporting figure of self-luminous Krishna stands as the transcendental source of all potencies. The holy name, consisting of 18 transcendental letters, is manifested in a hexagonal figure with sixfold divisions. The whorl of that eternal realm, Gokula, is the hexagonal abode of Krishna. His petals are the abodes of gopis, who are part and parcel of Krishna, to whom they are most lovingly devoted and are similar in essence. The petals shine beautifully like so many walls. The extended leaves of that lotus are the garden-like Dham, that is the spiritual abode of Sri Radhika, the most beloved of Krishna. The surrounding external plane of Gokula is described in this verse. There is a mysterious quadrangular place named Shvetadvipa surrounding the outskirts of Gokula. Shvetadvip is divided into 4 parts on all sides. The abode of Vasudeva, Sankarsana, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha are separately located in each of these 4 parts. These 4 divided abodes are enveloped by the 4-fold human requirements such as piety, wealth, passion, and liberation, as also by the 4 Vedas, namely Rig, Sama, Yajur, and Atharva, which deal with the mantra and which are the basis of achievements of the 4-fold mundane requirements. 10 tridents are fixed in the 10 directions, including the zenith and nadir. The 8 directions are decorated with the 8 jewels of Mahapadma, Padma, Shankha, Makara, Kachapa, Mukunda, Kunda, and Nila. There are 10 protectors, Dikpalas, of the 10 directions in the form of mantra. The associates of the hues of blue, yellow, red, and white, and the extraordinary potencies bearing the names of Bimala, etc., shine on all sides. Is it possible to make the text slightly larger? You can do? Can't do it now. Oh, because it's I see, it's a PowerPoint. Okay, no problem. The Lord of Gokula is the transcendental supreme Godhead, the own self of eternal ecstasies. He is the superior of all superiors and is busily engaged in the enjoyments of the transcendental realm and has no association with his mundane potency. I hope it's no. Okay.
So we can read from the Vaisesika.
Okay. Okay, so as we're switching over, we had just read that the Lord has no association with the mundane potency. So this is an important point that Radhika Raman Prabhu was pointing out the last time he was here giving seminar, because this goes to the separation between Krishna and the material world. It's simultaneously him and not him, Achinta Bheda Bheda Tattva. And also, as he mentions in the Bhagavad Gita, Nakartritvam Nakarmani Lokasya Sujati Prabhu. Nakarma, something, that he doesn't create the karma of the living entities, nor does he enjoyed the fruits of their activities. That's due to the living entity's involvement with the material world. He merely, as we hear from these verses, glances over the material energy, and things come into play after that. There, let's read that again, 5-6. The Lord of Gokula is the transcendental supreme Godhead, the own self of eternal ecstasies. He is the superior of all superiors and is busily engaged in the enjoyments of the transcendental realm and has no association with this mundane potency. Let's read the purport to that, please. And here it is. The sole potency of Krishna, which is spiritual, functioning as Krishna's own proper power, has manifested his pastimes of Goloka or Gokula. By her grace, individual souls are constituents of the marginal potency, who are constituents of the marginal potency, can have admission into even those pastimes. The deluding energy, who is of the nature of the perverted reflection of the spiritual chit potency, has got her location on the other side of the river Viraja, which surrounds the Brahmadham, forming the boundary of Mahavaikuntha as the outer envelope of Goloka. The position of Goloka being absolutely unalloyed with the mundane deluding energy, far from having any association with Krishna, feels ashamed to appear before his view. Does that give us all a better idea where we are right now? It's good. It's important to know, because who wouldn't ask that question if you find yourself suddenly you wake up somewhere and you don't know where you are? Wouldn't you want to ask somebody, like, where am I? You have some curiosity to find out where we are. So actually, that's a very important point, to have a sense of the overall structure of the universe, what's beyond. And here it's described, there's a demarcation point named Viraja, the river where the modes of material nature don't act, but it's not part of the material world, it's not part of the spiritual world. And beyond that Viraja demarcation point, there's the Mahavaikuntha. And if one comes through, then of course we have the Shiva's abode, because we hear later on in the Brahma Samhita, Goloka namni nijadamni chaleta tasya devi mahesha haridama suteshu teshu te te prabhava nichaya vihitascha yena govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Lowest of all is Devi Dham, above Devi Dham is Mahesh Dham, above Mahesh Dham is Haridam, and above Haridam is Goloka, Krishna's own realm. Okay, so continuing on 5.7, Krishna never consorts with his illusory energy. Still, her connection is not entirely cut off from the absolute truth. We can read together. When he intends to create the material world, the amorous pastime in which he engages by consorting with his own spiritual chit potency, Rama, by casting his glance at the deluding energy in the shape of sending his time energy as an auxiliary activity. Let's look at the purport there too. The illusory energy has no direct contact with Krishna. Not together, I'm just going to read the purport. But has got indirect contact. Vishnu, the prime cause, lying in the causal ocean, the plenary portion of Sankarshana, who has his seat in Mahavaikuntha, the sphere of Krishna's own extended transcendental pastimes, casts his glance toward the deluding energy. Even in casting his glance, he has no contact with the deluding energy, because the spiritual chit potency Rama then carries the function of his glance as his unpolluted, ever-submissive potency. The deluding energy, as the maidservant of the spiritual chit potency Rama, serves the manifested plenary portion of Godhead consorted with Rama, the time energy representing the force of activity and instrumentality of Rama. Hence, there is found that the process of masculinity, or the creative force. So the potencies of the Lord's potency is so great. Parasya Shaktir Vividaiva Shruyate. Simply by his existence and his will, wherever he looks, his will is manifested. His energies come to the material world and begin the whole process which makes creation take place, maintenance and so forth. Uh-oh, the mics are dead. The Karna Ocean. This Karna Ocean is first of all, there's that's sometimes described as being in the realm of the Viraja. And then after the initial glance of the Lord, he comes into he creates individual universes and then enters into each one of those. And those he fills up halfway with his perspiration. Then he lies on those oceans and from there expands himself again. Prabhu. Oh, we have microphones here. Can't we just turn them all on? Please stand by. We're having technical difficulties.
Hare Krishna. There is a series of lectures by Gokul Chandra Das. Actually, he's the president of the ISKCON Salem in Tamil Nadu, disciple of Bhakti Vikas Swami. So he studied a few scriptures, Brahma Samhita, and Surya Siddhant, etc., like 3-4 Chaitanya Charitamrita, and he was mentioning that Karan Ocean is actually it's the perspiration of personified Vedas.
Okay, please bring more specific, if you can. I mean, you don't have to give it now, but
I don't know it. That's all he said.
Okay, thank you. Continuing 5.8, the secondary process of association with Maya is described. Rama Devi, the spiritual chit potency, beloved consort of the Supreme Lord, is the regulatrix of all entities. The divine plenary portion of Krishna creates the mundane world. At creation there appears a divine halo of the nature of his own subjective portion, Shvamsha. This halo is divine Shambhu, the masculine symbol or manifested emblem of the Supreme Lord. This halo is the dim twilight reflection of the supreme eternal effulgence. This masculine symbol is the subjective portion of divinity who functions as progenitor of the mundane world. Subject to the supreme regulatrix, Niyati, the conceiving potency in regard to mundane creation, makes her appearance out of the supreme regulatrix. She is Maya, the limited, non-absolute apara potency, the symbol of mundane feminine productivity. The intercourse of these two brings forth the faculty of perverted cognition, the reflection of the seed of the procreative desire of the Supreme Lord. 9. All offspring of the consort of the great Lord Maheshwara of this mundane world are of the nature of the embodiment of the mundane masculine and feminine generative organs. The person embodying the material causal principle, namely the great Lord of this mundane world, Maheshwara, Shambhu, in the form of the male generating organ, is joined to his female consort, the limited energy Maya, as the efficient causal principle. The Lord of the world, Mahavishnu, is manifest in him by his subjective portion in the form of his glance. The Lord of the mundane world, Mahavishnu, possesses thousands of heads, eyes, hands. He is the source of thousands of avatars in his thousands of subjective portions. He is the creator of thousands of individual souls. The same Mahavishnu is spoken of the name Narayana in this mundane world. From that eternal person has sprung the vast expanse of water of the spiritual causal ocean. The subjective portion of Sankarsana who abides in Paravyoma, the above Supreme Purusha with thousands of subjective portions, reposes in the state of divine sleep Yoga Nidra in the waters of the spiritual causal ocean. The spiritual seeds of Sankarsana existing in the pores of skin of Mahavishnu are born as so many golden sperms. These sperms are covered by the 5 great elements. The same Mahavishnu entered into each universe as his own separate subjective portions. The divine portions that entered into each universe are possessed of his majestic extension. That is, they are the eternal universal soul, Mahavishnu, possessing thousands of heads. The same Mahavishnu created Vishnu from his left limb, Brahma, the first progenitor of beings, from his right limb, and from the space between its 2 eyebrows, Shambhu, the divine masculine manifested halo. The function of Shambhu in relation to jivas is that this universe, enshrining this mundane egotistic principle, has originated from Shambhu. Therefore, the same great personal Godhead, assuming the 3-fold forms of Vishnu, Prajapati, and Shambhu, entering into the mundane universe, plays the pastimes of preservation, creation, and destruction of this world. This pastime is contained in the mundane world, hence it being perverted. The Supreme Lord, identical with Mahavishnu, prefers to consort with the goddess Yoganidra, the constituents of his own spiritual chit potency, full of the ecstatic trance of eternal bliss appertaining to his own divine personality. So it's mentioned here, this pastime is contained in the mundane world, hence it being perverted. The Supreme Lord, identical with Mahavishnu, prefers to consort with the goddess Yoganidra. It means he's not so actively engaged. Yoganidra means he's like half closed eyes, sort of a little bit zoned out for the material world, because it's not about devotional service. Everyone's running around on the 101 freeway, going to Home Depot, and all kinds of mundane activities. Let's look at the purport. And meanwhile, could you, Mukharvina, grab me Adi 1? The dislocated portions of the divinity, namely Prajapati and Shambhu, both identifying themselves as entities who are separate from the divine essence, sport with their respective non-spiritual Achyut consorts, namely Savitri Devi and Uma Devi, the perverted reflections of the spiritual chit potency. The Supreme Lord Vishnu is the only Lord of the spiritual chit potency, Rama or Lakshmi. What's that? So this is mentioned also, this process of creation. The first section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. We have in starting on text number 7, may Sri Nityananda Ram be the object of my constant remembrance. Sankarsana, Sheshanaga, and the Vishnus who lie in the Karna ocean, Garbha ocean, and the ocean of milk are his plenary portions, or the portions of his plenary portions. I surrender into the lotus feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, who is known as Sankarsana, in the midst of the Chaturvyuha, consisting of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Pradyumna, and Aniruddha. He possesses full opulences and resides in Vaikuntha Loka, far beyond the material creation. I offer my full obeisances to the feet of Sri Nityananda Prabhu, whose partial representation, called Karnadakshay Vishnu, lying on the Karna ocean, is the original Purusha, the master of the illusory energy, and the shelter of all the universes. I offer my full obeisances under the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram, a partial part of whom is Garbhodakshay Vishnu. From the navel of Garbhodakshay Vishnu sprouts the lotus that is the birthplace of Brahma, the engineer of the universe. The stem of that lotus is the resting place of the multitude of planets. I offer my respectful obeisances under the feet of Sri Nityananda Ram. Under the lotus feet of who? whose secondary part is the Vishnu lying in the ocean of milk. That Kshirodakshayi Vishnu is the supersoul of all living entities and the maintainer of all the universes. Sheshanag is his further subpart. Lord Advaita Acharya is the incarnation of Mahavishnu, whose main function is to create the cosmic world through the actions of Maya. So you can see from this that the world didn't happen by chance. It not only has intricate design everywhere, beyond our imagination, but it also has beauty. Any grain of sand, in fact, there's a website where you can look at grains of sand, and every grain of sand that you see is a work of art. It's like a little jewel. The whole creation is like that. And there's thoughtfulness behind it. There's a divine personality behind it. And it's one person, but he expands himself into many forms for different functions and different relationships and different purposes. Who can prove that from the Brahma Samhita? That the Lord is one, but he expands himself into many. Yes, Ram Parash. Advaitam Achutam Anadir Anantarupam Adyam Purana Purusham Navayovanam Cha Vedeshu Durlabam Adurlabam Atma Bhaktau Govindamadi Purusham Tamahamadi. Judges, Advaitam Achutam. Yes, that is a good verse. Very good. I'm thinking of two more. Departure eva hita shantanama bhupetya dipayate vrvitaheta samana dharma. This verse, departure eva hita shantanama bhupetya, says there's one candle, departure eva, and that one candle lights many other candles. So there's still one original candle, and all the other candles have similar potency, but still there's an original. And one more verse, please. Which one? Karanarna bhajale bhajatisma yoga nidram ananta saromakupa adhara shaktim avalamya param samurtim govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. Can you look it up, please? And I was also thinking of Ramadi Murti Shukala Niyamina Tishna Nana Vatara Makarod Bhuvaneshu Kintu Krishna Swayam Sambhavat Paramapumanyo Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. All these point to the same conclusion. We're monotheists, actually. We believe in one God. There's not many gods. Sometimes people think, oh, you believe in many gods. I see many forms, and there are demigods and so forth. But actually, there's one God, and he's the source of all the other various forms that we see. Well, thank you. Special delivery from Govindaji. Thank you, Prabhu. This verse is Yakaranarna Bhajale. See, when you really want to prove your point through Shastra, you have to actually deliver it personally. This verse says, this is number 47. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who, assuming his own great subjective form, who bears the name of Shesha, replete with the all-accommodating potency, and reposing in the causal ocean with the infinity of the world in the pores of his hair, enjoys creative sleep, yoga nidra. Yes. And the other verse, departure eva hita shantanama bhupetya, is number? No. 46? 46. Okay? 46 says, the light of one candle being communicated to other candles, although it burns separately in them, is the same in its quality. I adore the primeval Lord Govinda, who exhibits himself equally in the same mobile manner in his various manifestations. So, and Advaitam Achyutam Anadi Manantarupam. 33. You are on a roll, Mukaravinda. He cannot be stopped. Okay. 33. I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is one without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless. This is, very much to the point, who is beginningless and is the eternal Purusha, yet he's a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth. A person. So everything that we see comes from a person, comes from the divine original person. And our good fortune comes in developing our relationship with that Supreme Personality of Godhead. And as we navigate our way through the material world, we also may become now aware, by getting this information, of how everything's being maintained, everything's been created, everything will be annihilated and wound up within the body of a person. In fact, the body of the universe is actually the body of the Lord. This is described in the second canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, that the universal form of the Lord is actually his body. It's the external form, therefore it's described as slightly imaginary, but in the sense that everything is Krishna and all the forms come from him, this universal form is also him. And Shukadev Goswami said we should become aware of that. Nowadays people take it for granted that they own certain plots of land, they can cut down the trees, exploit the resources and so forth. But those who are aware that it's the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead walk very carefully in the world and understand. Tena tyaktena bunjita. I take only those things. I enjoy only those things which were set aside for me as my quota by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is the solution to all problems of life, is to become conscious of the Supreme Purusha, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there is a traceable sequence where we see all the effects of this world that comes back to one cause. Sarva karana karanam, there's one cause to everything, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's not unknowable. In one sense, he's unknowable, but he's not even fully knowable to himself, but to the degree that we can serve him and enter into the process of bhakti yoga, to that degree we can know him as he reveals himself to us. Ye yata mam prapadyante tams tataiva bhajamyaham mama vartmanavartante manusha partha sarvasha. As you surrender to me, Krishna says, I reward you accordingly. And now we'll take a few reflections just from our brief reading of the Brahma Samhita and any discussion we've had so far. Please reflect back with relevant shastric statements or inquiries or whatever you heard so far that's stuck in your mind. Govinda.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So I was thinking that Brahma Samhita really brings together all the different Sanatana Dharma philosophies like Shaivism and Vaishnavism. And there was this one verse in which Shambhu, so there's one verse on Lord Shambhu, right? That he is the efficient cause of material creation. So basically that is Shaivism. I mean, if you just say restricted in that, that becomes Shaivism. And
becomes what?
That becomes...
No, I heard restricted, but...
No, I mean, if you just restrict yourself to that, if you think that is the end all and be all of Sanatana Dharma philosophy, then that becomes the basis for Shaivism. But
that's the word I'm not hearing. It's not basis of what? Oh, Shaivism. Thank you.
Just like Vaishnavism.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, but it is actually encapsulated in a much larger philosophy of Vaishnavism. So that's very beautiful how, if you just zoom in and kind of limit yourself to some specific ideas, it becomes a path in...
Yeah, then this is a tendency of jivas to limit themselves to a particular vision. Then they'll zoom in one area. It's important to have sambandha gyan, or a complete knowledge of the categories of energy. That's why in the very beginning of the Bhagavatam, and also as mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yaj jnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdite. These are truths or categories of truth that are there the emanations from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Supreme Lord exists as and is known by those who are knowers of these truths to be impersonal Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. When somebody has misunderstood these categories of truth, they're known as nirvishesha, because they don't understand the categories of truth. They don't understand that there are any categories at all, and therefore they're outside the realm of pure knowledge. What else? Shraddha and then Bali.
Maharaj, I was reflecting on your last statement that you made towards the end, where you were saying that about lording it over the material nature, and we should actually be tena tak tena bhunjita, that part that you said. And I was thinking about in Srimad Bhagavatam, where it talks about Prithu Maharaj when he goes back home. And so while he's distributing all his opulences that he had acquired, he distributes them both amongst the moving and the non-moving. And I was very surprised, like, how can you distribute something that you have to the non-moving? And then further down it says that he dedicated his sons to earth, like that, Mother Earth.
So you're pointing that out as the way in which a person who is fully God conscious has a comprehensive view. He sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord. And
then see, like, dedicating your son to Mother Earth is like, okay, that's the quota for Mother Earth.
Look up Stava Jangama. It's a very famous verse. And Bali Prabhu is next, and then Kanko.
Hare Krishna.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So I like 2 points. One is you mentioned about the current ocean, which is accurate information based on Prabhupada's purport in many places in Bhagavatam and other areas also, that how God's perspiration, and there is a room conversation in Mumbai with, and Prabhupada was jokingly say how, I don't know, Dr. Patel or somebody was asking, and Prabhupada was responding that, okay, how the perspiration of God is coming. He said that God is also, imagine, afraid of coming to the material world, and he's out of fear. His perspiration is coming from him. So we should remember that we should go back to the Godhead, because that is our ultimate aim. So he was giving very nicely. Everything he gives, it's lighter mode.
Yes.
So I was liking that point. And second one also, I like your Brahmadi Murti Sunyavina Kalatish. There are various forms of God, and we should not misunderstand the Ram, Nrsimha, or many others form of God, but this God is one. So one should compose and bring the mind into one focal point, that God is one. That is important.
Yes. Thank you very much, Bali Prabhu. And then someone could run a microphone back to Kanka, please. With the relay team.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
I really liked the part of this one verse that's up there still, and that he is a person possessing the beauty of a blooming youth, and how you explained that, yes, we believe in one God, because, so many people think that, especially Hindus, believe in so many gods, but Krishna expands himself into so many different forms. And then his point to understand that these different passages that are in the Vedas, like it says, you can't really understand it unless you have unalloyed devotion of the soul, which can be understood through the teachings of the Guru, of the spiritual master. And yesterday I was hearing Prabhupada talk about the importance of being conscious when you're in nature, especially, that everything, he said, even be careful about the trees and the plants. He said, he's like saying how, be so careful how we treat this. And you were telling us how, yes, it's the universal form.
Thank you very much. Kanka, I especially want to focus on your point about how one cannot understand the personality of God unless one gets association with pure devotees. Prabhupada points this out in his purports, and that is that by mental speculation, one can come as far as understanding the impersonal feature of the Lord. That's as far as you can go. Because by reasoning through neti, that this couldn't be it, this couldn't be it, it, then one comes to negate form and personality. But only by hearing from pure devotees who have knowledge of the Lord because of their devotion can one have also awaken in their hearts the knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That's why it's so vital to hear the commentaries from a pure devotee. Did you find that verse for me? It will magically appear. This is a supporting verse, which is very important, from the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. I believe it appears in Ramananda Samvad, no? Mukharvind? Ramananda Samvad? Ramananda Samvad. The Bengali first, please. Stavara Jangama Dhaki, or Dhaki. Stavara Jangama Dhaki, na Dhaki Tarmurti, Sharvatra Hoy Nija Ishta Deva Spurti. Translation is, the Mahabhagavata, the advanced devotee, certainly sees everything mobile and immobile, but he does not exactly see their forms. Rather, everywhere he immediately sees manifest the form of the Supreme Lord. Srila Prabhupada's purports. Due to his deep ecstatic love for Krishna, the Mahabhagavata sees Krishna everywhere and nothing else. This is confirmed in Brahma Samhita. Premanjana churita pukti vilochanena sanktak sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti. As soon as a devotee sees something, be it movable or inert, he immediately remembers Krishna. An advanced devotee is advanced in knowledge. This knowledge is very natural to devotee, for he has already read in the Bhagavad Gita how to awaken Krishna consciousness. According to Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita 7:8, Rasoham apsakaunteya prabhasmi shashi suryayoho pranavak sarvavedeshu shabdake paurusham nishu. O son of Kunti Arjuna, I am the taste of water, the light of the sun and the moon, the syllable Om in the Vedic mantras. I am the sound and ether and ability in man. Thus, when a devotee drinks water or any other liquid, he immediately remembers Krishna, or any other liquid. For a devotee, there is no difficulty in awakening Krishna consciousness 24 hours a day. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says here, Stavara Jangama Deki na Deki Tarmurti Sarvatra Hoy Nija Ishta Deva Spurti. A saintly person, an advanced devotee, sees Krishna 24 hours a day and nothing else. As far as movable and inert things are concerned, a devotee sees them all as transformations of Krishna's energy. As Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita 7:4, Bhumirapo nalo vayu kammanu bhutirevacha ahankara ityame binna prakritirashtada. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego, altogether these 8 constitute my separated material energies. So even looking at the separated energies, Prabhupada's commenting here, if you'll go up a little higher, that he sees the world a little higher. Or down? No, the other way. Back up. Up. Thank you. As far as movable and inert things are concerned, a devotee sees them all as transformations of Krishna's energies. Movable or inert things, transformations of Krishna's energies. So there's a way in which, through eyes of knowledge, chakshusha, a devotee, by hearing, as Prabhupada mentioned earlier from Bhagavad Gita and in the association of pure devotees, begins to see the world in a different way. The seeing how Krishna's energies, or whatever we see here, it's transformations, and it's coming from Krishna. So down again. Actually, nothing is separate from Krishna. When a devotee sees a tree, he knows that the tree is a combination of 2 energies, material and spiritual. The inferior energy, which is material, forms the body of the tree. However, within the tree is the living entity, the spiritual spark, which is part and parcel of Krishna. This is the superior energy of Krishna within this world. Whatever living thing we see is simply a combination of these 2 energies. When an advanced devotee thinks of these energies, he immediately understands that they are manifestations of the Supreme Lord. As soon as we see the sun rise in the morning, we arise and set about doing our morning duties. Similarly, as soon as a devotee sees the energy of the Lord, he immediately remembers Lord Sri Krishna. This is explained in this verse. Sarvatra hoy nija ishta deva spurti. A devotee who has purified his existence through devotional service sees only Krishna in every step of life. This is also explained in the next verse, which is a quotation from Srimad Bhagavatam, and this will be Sarvabhuteshu na pashyed, correct? Let's see it. Sarvabhuteshu na pashyed Bhagavan Atma Maya. No, that's not right. Sarvabhuteshu ya pashyed. Yeah. Sarvabhuteshu ya pashyed Bhagavat Bhavamatmana. Bhutani Bhagavatyatmani Esha Bhagavatotama. So this is by the one of the Navayogendras. And they're explaining here, one of them is explaining Havi Yogendra, is explaining that the vision of the pure devotee, or the characteristics of the topmost devotee. So there are three levels of devotees. There's the Uttama Adhikari, there's the Madhyama Adhikari, and then the Kanishta Adhikari. And actually we find through a thorough analysis of these three levels of devotees that they're explained in various ways through various points of view. But here Havi Yogendra is giving the definition, one of the definitions of the Uttama Adhikari. So Sarva Bhuteshu, in all objects, in matter, spirit, and combinations of matter and spirit. Scroll down to word for word synonyms, please. So in all objects, in matter, spirit, and combinations of matter and spirit, anyone who pashyat sees Bhagavat Bhavam, the ability to engage in the service of the Lord. Very interesting way the Prabhupada puts, the authors, the translators put it in this particular verse, that he sees an opportunity to serve the Lord. This theme is repeated throughout the Shastras. For instance, we'll hear from our Pandit circle over here from the Shri Ishopanishad, 2 verses which describe how the vision of a person who is trained in knowledge, anupashyati, never hates anything or any being. Microphone to the Pandits, please, quick. Chop, chop. Verses 6 and 7.
Yasmin sarvani bhutani atma vaibhut vijanatah tatra ko moha kashoka ekatam anupashyata.
Ekatvam anupashyata.
Ekatvam anupashyata. This verse talks about he who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, never hates anything or any being.
And sees everything in relationship to the Supreme Lord. Never hates anything or any being. That's a powerful statement, isn't it? One who always sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being. That's a very palatable verse for people these days. When I was in New York City about 10 years ago, I used to do a book distribution seminar before each New York Rath Yatra. And I had just given it was on a seminar break, and I was walking out the door with my friend Mitra Sena to take a walk on the break. I just told all the devotees that wherever you go, you should always carry one of Prabhupada's books, because if you do, then Lord Chaitanya will send somebody to you. And we were just walking out the door, and I said, wait a minute, I don't have a book, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. And Mitra Sena said, no, I have a Sri Ishopanishad. And so we walked on, and we went down the block, took a right, and then another right onto State Street. And just as we were turning the corner, there are a lot of brownstones that are it's an area that's being regentrified now. And so there was a large man in work clothes that he had obviously been working in for some time, big boots, and a huge white dump truck. And he was taking a break, whiling away his time. He was leaning with one elbow on the hood of the dump truck, and he saw Mitra Sena and me coming around the corner with dhotis, shaved heads, tilak, and everything like that. To him, this was an unusual sight, I think. I think anyway, he was from somewhere in New York. He had a New York accent. But as we turned the corner and we came closer, he looked, and as we're just about to pass him, he goes, "What are you, Buddha?" And just as he said that, I thought, oh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent this person. So I said, "Mitra, book." He handed me the book. I handed him the Sri Upanishad. This was just after 9/11. That's how long ago it was. It was after 9/11. I remember that because I was distributing books in New York City, and people were they were jangled by the whole experience. I mean, the whole country, the world was, it was a reminder that nobody's safe. Even the United States of America can be under attack. And they were also becoming more and more immune to sectarianism, the idea that one religion would attack people for the purposes of destroying them really was concerning people. It was in the newspaper a lot. And so I opened the Sri Upanishad when I was explaining it to him, and I read him this verse, that one who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and how he doesn't hate anything or any being. And I could see he was genuinely attracted to that. And I explained to him that this is a universal principle, that God's within everything. He's within all of us. It's not a sectarian concern. And he wanted to read more. I could tell how he was looking at the book very curiously. And of course I asked him for a donation because I didn't want to deprive him of the opportunity to give something in return so that he would become even more attached to the book. So he climbed up in his dump truck and he rummaged through the glove box for some time. And I said, I could sense the fact that something was going on. And I said, "We have change if you need it." He goes, "Oh, okay, because I only have a 20 in here." So he came back down, and I didn't know if we had change or not. But when he came down, between the two of us, Mitra Sena and I had $4. And I said, "We have $4. And he took that in exchange for his $20 bill. And I was very happy to take that book. But it reminded me that the Shastras that we're distributing and reading have such a comprehensive view, and also presented in such a way that it resonates with people, they can appreciate. And this is the vision of the devotee. As you were quoting, now you want to give the other verse? Somebody else. Okay, and then there's a comment online.
Yastu sarvani bhutani atmani evanup.
Well, you could do this one again. Do this in English and then do 7.
Atmani evanupashyati sarva bhuteshu chatmanam tato na vijugupsate.
Translation?
He who sees systematically everything in relation to the Supreme Lord, who sees all living entities as his parts and parcels, and who sees the Supreme Lord within everything, never hates anything or any being.
Okay, next one.
Yasmin sarvani bhutani atmaiva bhutvijanatah tatra ko moha kashoka ekatvam anupashyatah.
What's moha mean? What's moha? What's moha and shoka? Moha? Moha means illusion.
Anxiety.
Shoka? Yeah. So, okay. 7. You ended up at 6 again, right? We just did 6. There's 7.
So, translation. Okay.
There must be a technology where we can just think of the verse and it ends up on the... Somebody in Silicon Valley should have a startup company where you think of the verse and then it appears on a screen somewhere. That's all you have to do. Okay, so, just give the translation, yeah.
One who sees all living entities as spiritual sparks becomes a true knower of things.
In the quality one with the Lord.
In quality one with the Lord becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him?
So look at the word for word. Moha.
Illusion.
Ka.
What?
Shoka.
Anxiety.
Yeah, so how can there be anxiety for such a person? This is the main cause of anxiety. The Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhayam dvitiya binibesha tasyat ishad apetasya viparya yosmriti. Tanmaya tan buddha abhajetam bhaktyayka yesham guru devatatma. The Shastra says that the cause of anxiety and fear, bhayam, syat, it arises, bhayam dvitiya, when you see something separate from the Lord. You see yourself separate from the Lord. You see that this is mine. I was putting a diagram on the board the other day. So you could write across the board for people to choose. There's a car, the car, their car, my car. Which one puts fear in your heart when I say my car? Because all of a sudden it's a burden and you think, oh, where is my car right now? Is Radhakripa in the parking lot noticing where I parked? Did somebody scratch my car? Did somebody break the window? Did I pay the insurance? It's unlimited, just one car. What to speak of all the other things that are mine in my life, because I think in terms of mine and somebody else's. But ishavasam sarvam yat kincha jagatyam jagat. If I see, oh, it's Krishna's car, of course we care even more for it then. But it's a different kind of anxiety. It becomes spiritual anxiety rather than the self-centered anxiety we have. These verses solve all of humankind's problems. The only difficulty is in inculcating them and accepting, because the living entity wants to be independent and wants to control matter and wants to own things independently. Now we have from the internet. Shut up, please. Who's checking in from around the world?
This is Vaikuntha Nayak Prabhu from India.
Vaikuntha Nayaka. Hare Krishna.
And this is in continuation with the 6th verse. Danvarts Maharaj, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. You mentioned that this world is the body of the Lord and the devotees are careful about how they use it. I was reminded of one video where Srila Prabhupada visits a seminary in Australia. The monks there say that their guru, Saint Francis of Assisi, used to address all living or non-living entities as sister cow, brother tree. And what was Prabhupada's opinion on this? Srila Prabhupada responds, this is real God consciousness. Also, in another instance, in the Lilamrita, I remember where Srila Prabhupada is devastated, and when Srila Prabhupada is devastated when he comes to know that a tree was cut while they were building the temple in Mumbai.
Yes, thank you very much. Now, one caveat I want to give, and Prabhupada brings this up at the outset of his 2 purports on the verses from Sri Upanishad that we saw. He said we're also not to imitate the Mahabhagavata, because some people then will say that, oh, I see everyone equally. And even in the next verse, after Sarva Bhuteshu na Pashyed from the Srimad Bhagavatam describing the Uttama Adhikari, which is Ishvare Taradineshu Balisheshu Dusatsucha Prema Maitri Kripopeksha Yakaroti Samadhyamaha, describing how the Madhyama Adhikari should see categories of people. He has a vision different from the Mahabhagavata. He distinguishes between the Supreme Lord, he sees the devotees, he sees the innocent, and he also sees the inimical. And he interacts with each one of them differently. And if somebody, a neophyte who's not on the level of a Mahabhagavata, tries to imitate the Mahabhagavata by, for instance, interacting with people who are inimical towards the Lord and saying, no, I'll save them also. That's not the injunction of Shastra. And this is Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, in his commentary, which is mentioned in the purport of that verse, says that we're not to do that. And Prabhupada also warns in the Sri Upanishad, don't try to imitate the vision of the Mahabhagavata. However, Anupashyati means to follow by taking the Shastra and seeing systematically. So we should also connect how everybody's a part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. The whole world is part of his creation, part of him actually, and see through the eyes of Shastra, but don't imitate and pretend that you're a Mahabhagavata. Yes? Govinda I would like Govinda Prabhu to have a microphone, because whatever he says is always life-changing. Maybe it's because he's always chanting the holy names.
No, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I wish. Anyhow, this is the story of my life. So it's no, that's about to come. What I'm going to say is the story of my life.
Okay.
So all this is great and dandy, right? I mean, this high philosophy about seeing Lord in everything, being Mahabhagavat, it's highly elevating and liberating. But the reality is, the modes of nature are always acting on fools like me. So even though and that's why I like to come to the Saturday class, because I can remind myself that there's something higher than of the I have a lower nature, but there's something more there. But the thing is, there's one thing to hear this, very hard to really ingrain, because of the modes of nature are constantly working in me. And every now and then I just Tamogun takes over, or like Rajogun takes over, so I get angry, or stuff like that. So it's very difficult to really, I just feel, even after chanting and everything. So now and then, it doesn't seem like it's working, but it's good for me to come here and take this in.
Thank you for giving us the story of your life. So this is the story of everyone's life in the material world. Thank you for explaining. Krishna describes in the 12th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there are gradations of practice. First of all, he says, always think of me. Just meditate on me. This is natural for someone who's awakened their love for Krishna. As mentioned by Lord Kapiladev, he says that the person who's who's practicing devotional service and who's transcended the three modes of material nature. Verse, please. Just the first word will suffice. That's the third line. Okay, so he describes how such a person is naturally inclined to think of the Supreme Lord, and he gives a poetical example, an analogy, that as the Ganges is always flowing towards the ocean and can't be stopped, similarly, the mind of a person who's become awakened in Krishna consciousness, Kapiladev, is constantly attracted to hearing about the Lord, and with no impediments whatsoever. And so, if that's not possible, Krishna says, then you have to practice the tenets of bhakti yoga. So, let's say, what is this practice? Let's say you're going to take a spaceship to somewhere. Where are you going to go? Where does NASA send people these days? Not to the moon anymore. Okay, well, let's say you're going to go on a Mars expedition. So what do they do with the astronauts? For years ahead of time, they put them through rigorous training. And they put them in a simulated situation. They'll even put them in a little module that shakes back and forth like the spaceship, and in front of their eyes they're seeing the heavens move past them at light speed. And this is a simulated experience of flying in a spaceship. Plus they'll only eat the food that they're going to eat when they're on their expedition going to Mars. And they have to learn to take care of all their bodily necessities in the same way. And when they finally put them in the space capsule and shoot it off, it goes, yeah, I'm used to this. So similarly, our practice of bhakti, what Krishna recommends, if you're not thinking of me, if you're not there yet, then practice this. So we do the same thing. We worship Tulsi Devi. We come and see the deities who are there. We only eat the food that's there in the spiritual world. We don't eat material food. We only say spiritual things like they say in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, they talk about Krishna. So we practice that. So this is in the realm of a pure devotional service, but it's pure devotional service in practice. But it's the same thing in a way, because there's mango, either green mango or ripe mango. Now Krishna says, if you can't do that, if you can't practice like that, which is altogether possible, most of the population can't, Very rare persons can enter into Vaidhi Bhakti. Then he says, okay, do your work, which everyone has to do anyway, because that's part of the material world. As soon as you're born, your parents are waiting there and go, okay, get ready. We have a college fund. You're gonna be a doctor, and and you're gonna work hard. That's the rule of the material world. So why do they have to work hard? Because that's the law here in the material world. As soon as you come out, they hand you a little chit, and it says, Shnicky, you're going to have to work hard. This is what you got to do while you're in this lifetime. So Krishna says you're going to work hard anyway. So sacrifice some of the fruits of that hard work to me. This is karma yoga, and it's a way in which you'll think of Krishna, and you really will. Because when I'm working hard, I'm so attached to the fruits that if I could at least shave off a little bit, like if you have a nice cake and you want to eat the whole thing, but at least you take out 1/8 of the cake, or at least 1/10, and you give it to your dog or something, whatever, give it away. Then you say, oh, okay, I'm still alive and I have enough cake. And plus, you think of wherever you gave that money that you gave away, and you'll think of Krishna, like you'll have that connection to him. Then he says, if you can't do that, then try to work charitably. Do something, volunteer something, even if it's not directly for Krishna consciousness. Get in the mood of doing some selfless service. As if you do that, then you'll start to realize the spirit of devotional service. And then he mentions other kinds of methods to remain connected, if not. So he gives this spectrum of various ways in which to practice to come to the point of thinking of him constantly. So now we're going to take a 2-minute break. So you have a chance to stand up for the next section, which will be very focused. I'm going to talk about anarthas, or unwanted desires that may arise within the heart, and the process recommended within the Srimad Bhagavatam to diminish those, to dissolve them, and to come to the point of nishta, or steady devotional service, where we're no longer influenced by unwanted things that are within our heart. Does that sound reasonable? Okay, so we'll take a 2-minute break, and feel free to move about the universe, but please come back here in 2 minutes. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. I think that was 2 minutes. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Dashoda Nandana Vraja Janarandana. Dashoda Nandana Vraja Janarandana. Jashoda Nandana Vraja Janarandana. Dashoda Nandana Vraja Janarandana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janarandana. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janarandana. Yashoda Nandana Vraja Janarandana. Dashoda Nandana Vraja Janarandana. Junatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Let's first look at the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter. Tashchadadhana Munayo, verse number 12. Oh, Madguna Shruti Matrena Maisarva Gohashe. There's my verse. Okay. So 1 to 12, please. Madguna Shruti Matrena Sarvamaya Gohashe Manogatir Avichina Yata Gangama Sobaya. Okay. Tachchadadhana Munayo Gana Vairagya Yuktaya Pasyantyatmani Chatmanam Bhaktya Shutagrihitaya. Kids chant.
Tachchadadhana munayo
Tachchadadhana Munayo
Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya
Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya
Pashyantyatmani Chatmanam
Pasyantyatmani Chatmanam
Bhaktya Shruta Grihitaya.
Bhaktya Shutagrihitaya.
Tachchadadhana Munayo
Tachchadadhana Munayo
Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya
Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya
Pashyanti Atmani Chatmanam
Pasyantyatmani Chatmanam
Bhaktya Shruta Grihitaya.
Bhaktya Shutagrihitaya. Tat, that. Shadadhana, seriously inquisitive. Munayaha, sages. Jnana, knowledge. Vairagya, detachment. Yuktaya, well equipped with. Pashyanti, see. Atmani, within himself. Cha, and Atmanam, the Paramatma. Bhaktya, in devotional service. Shruta, the Vedas. Grihitaya, well received. Translation: this seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has learned from the Vedanta Shruti. Altogether, please. The seriously inquisitive student or sage, well equipped with knowledge and detachment, realizes that absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedanta Shruti. Purport: the absolute truth is realized in full by the process of devotional service to the Lord, Vasudeva, or the personality of Godhead, who is the full-fledged absolute truth. Brahman is his transcendental bodily effulgence, and Paramatma is his partial representation. As such, Brahman or Paramatma realization of the absolute truth is but a partial realization. There are 4 different types of human beings: the karmis, the jnanis, the yogis, and the devotees. The karmis are materialistic, whereas the other 3 are transcendental. The karmis are materialistic, whereas the other 3 are transcendental. The first-class transcendentalists are the devotees who have realized the Supreme Person. The second-class transcendentalists are those who have partially realized the plenary portion of the Absolute Person. And the third-class transcendentalists are those who have barely realized the spiritual focus of the Absolute Person. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, the Supreme Person is realized by devotional service, which is backed by full knowledge and detachment from material association. Well, I'll read that sentence again, please. Where does it start? As what? As stated in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, the Supreme Person is realized by devotional service, which is backed by full knowledge and detachment from material association. Let's read that all together, please. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita and other Vedic literatures, the Supreme Person is realized by devotional service, which is backed by full knowledge and detachment from material association. I want to come back to this concept, so I wanted to mark it as we're going forward. We have already discussed the point that devotional service is followed by knowledge and detachment from material association. As Brahman and Paramatma realization are imperfect realizations of the Absolute Truth, so the means of realizing Brahman and Paramatma, that is, the paths of Jnana and Yoga, are also imperfect means of realizing the Absolute Truth. Devotional service, which is based on the foreground of full knowledge, combined with detachment from material association, and which is fixed by the oral reception of the Vedanta Shruti, is the only perfect method by which the seriously inquisitive student can realize the Absolute Truth. That's a very similar concept to the one I marked above. Please note. That was a long sentence. Okay, devotional service is not therefore meant for the less intelligent class of transcendentalists. There are three classes of devotees, namely first, second, and third class. The third class devotees are the neophytes who have no knowledge and are not detached from material association, but who are simply attracted by the preliminary process of worshiping the deity in the temple, are called material devotees. Material devotees are more attached to material benefit than transcendental profit. Therefore, one has to make definite progress from the position of material devotional service to the second-class devotional position. In the second-class position, the devotee can see four principles in the disciplic line, namely the personality of Godhead, his devotees, the ignorant, and the envious. One has to raise himself at least to the stage of a second-class devotee and thus become eligible to know the Absolute Truth. A third-class devotee, therefore, has to receive the instructions of devotional service from the authoritative sources of Bhagavata. The number one Bhagavata is the established personality of devotee, and the other Bhagavatam is the message of Godhead. The third-class devotee, therefore, has to go to the personality of devotee in order to learn the instructions of devotional service. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of Bhagavatam. Such a devotee must be a representative of Shukadev Goswami, like Shukadev Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-around benefit of all people. I'm going to read that again too. Such a personality of devotee is not a professional man who earns his livelihood by the business of Bhagavatam. Such a devotee must be a representative of Shukadev Goswami, like Sutta Goswami, and must preach the cult of devotional service for the all-around benefit of all people. A neophyte devotee has very little taste for hearing from the authorities. Such a neophyte devotee makes a show of hearing from the professional man to satisfy his senses. This sort of hearing and chanting has spoiled the whole thing, so one should be very careful about the faulty process. The holy messages of Godhead as inculcated in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Srimad Bhagavatam are undoubtedly transcendental subjects, but even though they are so, such transcendental matters are not to be received from the professional man, who spoils them as the serpent spoils milk, touched by the touch of his tongue, simply by the touch of his tongue. A sincere devotee must therefore be prepared to hear the Vedic literature like the Upanishads, Vedanta, and other literatures left by the previous authorities or Goswamis for the benefit of his progress. Without hearing such literatures, one cannot make actual progress. And without hearing and following the instructions, the show of devotional service becomes worthless, and therefore a sort of disturbance in the path of devotional service. Unless, therefore, devotional service is established on the principles of Shruti, Smriti, Purana, and Pancharatra authorities, the make-show of devotional service should at once be rejected. An unauthorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee. An unauthorized devotee should never be recognized as a pure devotee. By assimilation of such messages from the Vedic literatures, one can see the all-pervading, localized aspect of the personality of Godhead, within his own self constantly, this is called samadhi. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Dena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manopishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Go Premanande Hari Hari Bo. I offer my respectful obeisances to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada and to all of you, because you are Vaishnavas and therefore the most worshipable in all the three worlds. Hare Krishna. And this verse indicates that our practice must be fortified by, as mentioned here, knowledge, detachment, and also thoughtfulness, as comes out in the commentary of the Acharyas. So, tachtrudadhana munayo, jnanavairagya yuktaya, pashyantyatmani chatmanam bhaktya shrutagrihitaya. A person who is very serious about devotional service has to have the benefit of the shruti, hearing constantly, and also has to develop, which comes naturally, as we hear in the Bhagavatam, in the same chapter, Vasudeve Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Jana Yashavairagyam Jnanam Chayara Haitukam. When you render devotional service properly to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, then you develop knowledge and detachment from the world. And these two concomitant benefits are what fortifies the devotee on the path of devotional service. One may practice devotional service, but without proper fortification and also without very deliberately removing the obstacles on one's path. One may not progress steadily enough to not be dissuaded from the path of devotional service. After all, nothing is as encouraging as success itself. So Rupa Goswami therefore recommends that we not engage in devotional service officially. That is, that we shouldn't do it just for the sake of doing it without actually making advancement. This is called niyamagraha. Two principles are there in one word, two for one. Niyamagraha. Niyamagraha means that you don't follow the rules and regulations properly enough, and therefore you stay far enough away from the fire so you can see it, but you don't get the benefit of the heat and light. And the other means niyamagraha. You're following the rules and regulations. Yes, you're doing, but you're not doing it with your mind. You're not keeping attentively to the process, and you're doing it only as rote. And therefore, you also don't get the benefit. Not enough in order to advance in devotional service. So one has to be very attentive to one's practice of devotional service as one's practicing. One has to be aware that he or she is practicing and actually lean into the practice. Tachchudadhana Muniyo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya. I mentioned also that the practitioner has to overcome obstacles. This is true in any endeavor, in any discipline. It's important, for instance, in business management. If you're managing a project, you have to list what the obstacles are. And then you have to find out what are the ways to overcome the obstacles. Otherwise, eventually they'll envelop your business and you won't be able to progress. And in a similar way, the Shastra recommends that as we're practicing devotional service, we should be attentive to those anarthas, or unwanted desires that are blocking our progress in devotional service. So we'll talk a little bit about that right now. First of all, knowledge. One of the aspects of knowledge, as is mentioned here, you have to have knowledge. Jnana means knowledge. And what is knowledge? Knowledge means you have to have awareness of what the anarthas are, of what they are. So you have to learn to identify them. Just like a good gardener has to identify what are the weeds and what are the desirable plants, correct? Otherwise, if you get those two things mixed up, you're going to have a really sad-looking garden. And so, to go more into this, let's look at Chaitanya Charitamrita 19, Madhya 19, 155. And in this section, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is using an analogy to teach Sanatana Goswami. So here he starts his analogy. He says, Tahan Vishtareta hoy pale prema pal, iha mole shechi nitya shravanari jal. And the translation is, very beautiful, the creeper greatly expands in the Goloka Vrindavan planet, and there it produces the fruit of love for Krishna. Although remaining in the material world, the gardener regularly sprinkles the creeper with the water of hearing and chanting. So this is indicated in the verse and purport we just read, Tachchadadhana Munayo. Prabhupada emphasizes at least twice that you have to take advantage of Shruti, Smriti, Panchratra, Vidhi, etc. in order to advance in devotional service. You have to hear from these literatures. In fact, the sahajas, or those who take devotional service to be a cheap thing, that it's just emotion, specifically exclude these from their practice. They say, oh, it's gyan, we're not interested in gyan, we only want the emotion of bhakti, and so forth. But the Srimad Bhagavatam says something different, and that is we have to take advantage of the teachings of the Shastras and the great sages in order to advance. We've had this experience. You read the Bhagavatam for extended periods of time, and you'll notice that your mind is readjusted. You get right with God right after you read the Bhagavatam, because the mind is intrinsically attached to the not intrinsically, that is naturally attached to the material world and tends to go there very easily. Dhyato vasham pumsam sangasteshu bhajayate. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, watch out as you're moving around this world, because you're going to look at it and you're going to get attached to it, and then there's a whole series of events that it's going to get you more and more entangled. And therefore, we have to be aware all the time of what we're looking at and what the implications are. We have to realize that there's a sequence of activities that take place as I meditate on certain things, as I allow myself to become attached to certain things in this world. What's going to happen to me? And this, when I was in school studying business, I did a case study of a company called Weight Watchers, and they have now, I saw they have this app that you can get. Of course, everyone has an app, and on it there's a scanner. And now you'll notice this: any food product that you buy, including an apple or an orange, it has a barcode on it. Did you ever notice that? Yeah, people should have that too. No, not really. Somebody might get the wrong idea. But if you take their app and you scan a bag of something, it'll tell you if it's good or bad. For instance, a certain bag of something, it'll be shockingly excessive if you eat that, and you're going to be in big trouble, and also tell you what's in it and what's going to happen to you if you do eat it. So I was thinking the other day, it would be nice to have a little scanner like that to look at everything in my life. And before you take it, before you touch it, you scan it, and you're like, oh, that's what it's going to lead to. It just shows up. And that's exactly what we get when we study the Shastra, when we study the Bhagavatam. Your mind is a scanner. It's scanning the whole world all the time. But if you don't have it properly aligned, you'll look at it and think, oh, that's good for me. For instance, if your mind's in the mode of ignorance, you're going to look at some substance that you can ignite with a match, and you'll think, oh, I should drink that. That's wrong. People take in all kinds of substances or all kinds of, they view things in this world and they think, oh, that's very nice. But actually it's not. It leads to their ruination. Krishna points this out very systematically in the Bhagavad Gita. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, what Krishna says in the Gita is very meticulously, Krishna meticulously shows us the psychological effects, the social effects, the effect on one's health, and so forth in these various stories throughout the Srimad Bhagavatam. For instance, there's Pururava, the story of Pururava becomes overly attached to Urvashi, and what he goes through in his life, how attached to her he is, that when he becomes separated from her due to ridiculous circumstances. You know the story, Urvashi, great heavenly, the most beautiful woman maybe in the whole material world. And Pururava, supposedly the most attractive man. They become attached to each other. She has some contingencies to their relationship. One is he has to take care of her 2 lambs that she brought from the heavenly planet, and that those are her children, practically. And then the other one is that she should never see him naked. And, she left heaven for a while, and Indra started missing her because, it's just not the same there without her being around. So he sent 2 Gandharvas down to get Urvashi to come back. So they basically broke into Pururava's house. He was there sleeping. Urvashi was there also. They stole the lambs. And Urvashi wakes up and finds out the lambs are crying and they're being stolen. And then she berates her husband and says, you eunuch, you worthless husband, you couldn't even protect my lambs. You're supposed to be a Kshatriya. What's wrong with you? So he freaks out. He jumps up. He runs out the door with his sword but forgets to put his clothes on. And then the Gandharvas, with their effulgence, they illuminate him in the middle of the field. And Urvashi sees him and said, that's it, I'm leaving. 2 things that she said, and you couldn't even follow that, so I'm gone. And then he starts to pine after her. He can't live without her. Finally meets her again. There's an agreement. She'll come back 1 day a year, and he agrees to that. And all year long, he's just waiting for her to come back, and so forth. And then finally, they're separated again, so he performs a sacrifice so that in his next life, he can be transferred and live with her in heaven, and so forth. There are so many stories about attachment, and then, of course, in the end, he becomes enlightened and sees his folly and sees how he is merely attached. The Bhagavatam actually takes us through the full cycle. There's, in other words, consequence. Consequence has the word sequence, means one thing after another happens. Just as Krishna says in code form in the Bhagavad Gita, Dhyayato Vishaya Pumsam, Bhagavat, that you look at that, you want that, okay, now here's what's going to happen to you. He tells it, and here's the sequence. Bhagavatam actually plays it all out with real characters and says, here's what it looks like. You want to look like that? Be careful. And the 2 of those together, see, this is jnana, vairagya, yuktaya. When you become fortified with this, you know. If you're not taking in that kind of information and you're simply exposing yourself to Super Bowl ads, that advocate that, enjoy the material world. Look at everything. You should enjoy everything. You'll be sidetracked, to say the least, into the material world, and you won't be able to step by step make progress in the path of devotional service, because you'll think, at the very least, you'll think, the material world's not that bad. I don't know what they're talking about. These devotees are a little too severe. You know, I mean, there's nothing really that bad about the material world. On the other hand, Prahlad Maharaj says, I'm afraid of it. I don't want to come near it. He says, Lord Nrsingadeva, I'm not afraid of you. Even though everybody else, even Brahma and the demigods, they're scared out of their wits to see this form of the Lord. Even Lakshmi was thinking, like, who is this? Is my husband? But Prahlad is the pure devotee. He's, I'm not afraid of you, my Lord. I know who you are. What I'm afraid of is your Vishnu Maya. Is if I even put my little finger in, I'll get caught in this big wheel. I'll get pulled in and trapped. Again, in the material world, I'm afraid of it. So the devotees have to be fortified with knowledge. It's a serious practice to come out of the material world. And if you linger in the material world, or if you dabbling is very dangerous. You dabble a little here, dabble a little there. Next thing you know, you're addicted again. This happens all the time. So addicted to any kind of a mode of nature in the material world. So you have to be vigilant to hear. Bhakta Shruta Grihitaya. You have to hear regularly. Actually, regularly, if you trace it back, it means Nityam Bhagavata Seva. It means always. Constantly. But our acharyas say, if you tell that to neophytes, that you have to hear always, constantly, 24 hours a day, they'll be discouraged because I can't do that. So he said, nitya means at least once a day. At least daily you have to hear. Take your fortification of what's going on. Joshua Hevitz, famous violinist, if I don't practice one day, I notice it. If I don't practice 2 days, my teacher notices it. If I don't practice 3 days, everybody in the world notices it. Hey, what happened to you? So similarly, if we don't hear one day, we'll notice it. You should. If you don't practice 2 days, your teacher will notice it. Hey, what happened to you? If you don't practice it 3 days, everyone's going, yeah, something's wrong. So you have to be vigilant to fortify yourself with the process of hearing chanting. So here we are, Madhya 19:155. Next one. Is this the next one? The creeper greatly expands in the Goloka Vrindavan planet, and there it produces, this is after you water it, the fruit of love for Krishna. Although remaining in the material world, the gardener regularly sprinkles the creeper with the water of hearing and chanting. It means keep watering. You can't stop. Okay, next one. This says, Jadi Vaishnava Aparadho Ute Hati Mato Upari Vachinde Tar Shuki Jaya Pata. If the devotee commits an offense at the feet of a Vaishnava while cultivating the creeper of devotional service in the material world, his offense is compared to a mad elephant that uproots the creeper and breaks it. In this way, the leaves of the creeper are dried up. Remember, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is the way he teaches. He's giving these analogies. Next one. Just go to the, I don't know if my Bengali is sitting well with you. The gardener must defend the creeper by fencing it all around so that the powerful elephant of offenses may not enter. So this is part of the fortification process of devotional service. You have to be careful of offenses. Let's see the purport. While the bhakti creeper is growing, the devotee must protect it by fencing it all around. You see, if you go to Govardhan and you walk around Govardhan Hill, there's devotees there who are helping to reforest the area. However, when they put up a tree, you'll notice that they fortify it very heavily with these first bricks, and then they also have wire cages around them because, as you know, the living entities out there are voracious. They'll eat anything. The cows will come, the monkeys will come, everybody comes and wants to eat that new plant. And it doesn't take much to ruin a new plant. You just clip a little here, a little there, 20% gone, it's stifled, it's very difficult. So when we begin our devotional practice, we have to be extremely careful and we have to fence it in on all sides. Don't think, oh, it's okay, it doesn't matter what I do. It does. It really matters because you have to grow deep roots. The branches have to come up. So while you're still here in the material world, please know I'm speaking myself, that this is a very dangerous place, and not to dabble, and to keep it fortified at all times. While the bhakti creeper is growing, the devotee must protect it by fencing all around. The neophyte devotee must be protected by being surrounded by pure devotees. In this way, he will not give the maddened elephant a chance to uproot his bhakti creeper. When one associates with non-devotees, the maddened elephant is set loose. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has said, "Asatsanga tyag, a Vaishnava achar." The first business of a Vaishnava is to give up the company of non-devotees. A so-called mature devotee, however, commits a great offense by giving up the company of pure devotees. The human being is a social animal, and if one gives up the society of pure devotees, he must associate with non-devotees, asasanga. By contacting non-devotees and engaging in non-devotional activities, a so-called mature devotee will fall victim to the mad elephant offense. Whatever growth has taken place is quickly uprooted by such an offense. One should therefore be very careful to defend the creeper by fencing it in, that is, by following the regulative principles and associating with pure devotees. Next. Even if one thinks that there are many pseudo-devotees or non-devotees in the Krishna consciousness society, still one should stick to the society. If one thinks the society's members are not pure devotees, one can keep direct company with the spiritual master, and if there is any doubt, one should consult the spiritual master. However, unless one follows the spiritual master's instructions concerning the regulative principles and chanting and hearing the holy names of the Lord, one cannot become a pure devotee. By one's mental concoctions, one falls down. By associating with non-devotees, one breaks the regulative principles and is thereby lost. In the Upadeshamrita of Srila Rupa Goswami, it is said, Atyahara prayashascha prajalpunyamagraha janashangascha lalyamcha shadbir bhaktir vinashati. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over-endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to attain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically, associating with worldly-minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and 6, being greedy for mundane achievements. Everyone okay? Okay. So next verse, please. I'm building a case, so please stick with me. Next verse says in the translation, some unwanted creepers, such as creepers of desires for material enjoyment and liberation from the material world, grow along with the creeper of devotional service. The varieties of such unwanted creepers are unlimited. So is there a purport there? Yeah. Next verse, please. Some unnecessary creepers growing with the bhakti creeper are the creepers of behavior unacceptable for those trying to attain perfection, diplomatic behavior, animal killing, mundane profiteering, mundane adoration, and mundane importance. All of these are unwanted creepers. Purport. There is a certain pattern of behavior prescribed for those actually trying to become perfect. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we advise our students not to eat meat, not to gamble, not to engage in illicit sex, and not to indulge in intoxication. People who indulge in these activities can never become perfect. Therefore, these regulative principles are for those interested in becoming perfect and going back to Godhead. Kutinati, or diplomatic behavior, cannot satisfy the Atma, the soul. It cannot even satisfy the body or the mind. The culprit mind is always suspicious. Therefore, our dealings should always be straightforward and approved by Vedic authorities. If we treat people diplomatically or duplicitously, our spiritual advancement is obstructed. Jiva himsana refers to the killing of animals or to envy of other living entities. The killing of poor animals is undoubtedly due to the envy of those animals. The human form is meant for the understanding of Krishna consciousness, atato brahma jignasa, for inquiring about the Supreme Brahman. In the human form, everyone has a chance to understand the Supreme Brahman. The so-called leaders of human society do not know the real aim of human life and are therefore busy with economic development. This is misleading. Every state and every society is busy trying to improve the quality of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. This human form of life is meant for more than these four animal principles. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending are problems found in the animal kingdom, and the animals have solved these problems without difficulty. Why should human society be so busy trying to solve these problems? The difficulty is that people are not educated to understand this simple philosophy. They think that advancement of civilization means increasing sense gratification. There are many religious propagandists who do not know how the ultimate problems of life can be solved, and they also try to educate people in a form of sense gratification. This is called jiva himsana. Real knowledge is not given, and religionists mislead the general populace. As far as material profits are concerned, one should know that whatever material profits one has must be abandoned at the time of death. Unfortunately, people do not know that there is life after death. Therefore, mundane people waste their time amassing material profit, which has to be left behind at the time of death. Such profit has no eternal benefit. Similarly, adoration by mundane people is valueless because after death one has to accept another body. Material adoration and titles are decorations that cannot be carried over to the next body. In the next life, everything is forgotten. All these obstructions have been described in this verse as unwanted creepers. They simply present obstacles for the real creeper, the bhakti lata. One should be very careful to avoid all these unwanted things. Sometimes these unwanted creepers look exactly like the bhakti creeper. They appear to be the same size and the same species, and when they are packed together with the bhakti creeper, but in spite of this, the creepers are called upashaka. I read that incorrectly, so I'm starting. They appear to be of the same size and the same species when they are packed together with a bhakti creeper, but in spite of this, the creepers are called upashaka. A pure devotee can distinguish between the bhakti creeper and the mundane creeper, and he is very alert to distinguish them and keep them separate. So this is one of the ways in which we can assure that we're advancing in devotional service is to be vigilant about taking out the unwanted creepers that are actually weeds. And we have to carefully hear from the Shastra and, as Prabhupada points out, constantly associate with devotees. Otherwise, we'll develop aspirations for again enjoying the material world in various ways. And it's as easy for the weeds to overtake the garden, especially as we're watering. The watering process waters the weeds also. And as the weeds grow, unless we're vigilant in taking them out, they'll choke out the original bhakti creeper. And we see this from time to time, that devotees are practicing for some time. They're watering by chanting and hearing. But then they develop in a different way, and they begin to value some material idea, and they become estranged from the practice of pure devotional service. This happens gradually over time by the weeds having a chance to take root, to grow, choke out the creeper, and then somebody goes in a different direction. So the verse from the Bhagavatam that we're looking at today is emphasizing that we have to be thoughtful. It's not that we just hear and chant, but we also have to be vigilant and think about what we're hearing and chanting, and we also have to have the wherewithal to remove the obstacles from our path. Actually have to take them out certain times. Oftentimes it requires the vigilance of devotees who are more advanced than oneself to point these things out and say, hey, you have to rectify something. And if one is able to take such instruction throughout one's life, one avoids a lot of trouble and waylaying one's process of devotional service. We'll take a few reflections before I make a couple final points. Yes. Microphone's ready to go.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you. One thing that I liked was it was mentioned not giving Krishna consciousness is a non-violence. It is similar to what Srila Prabhupada also mentions in Bhagavad Gita. And also I have a question.
Can you restate what he says in the Bhagavad Gita about non-violence? It's an extremely important point.
Not giving Krishna consciousness is an act of non-violence.
Yes, if you have Krishna consciousness and you don't proactively distribute it, then you're being violent. This is Prabhupada's standard of ahimsa.
Sorry.
This is actually the highest standard of ahimsa. Please.
Yeah, and I have a question. In 4th canto, 31st chapter, 14th verse, Yatha Taror Mula Nishachanina verse, in that Srila Prabhupada mentions that Bhakti Yoga is not dependent on Jnana Yoga and Karma Yoga. At the same time, it is important to fence ourselves by hearing and chanting, fortify, so that we can do Bhakti more properly. So I just wanted to understand how to reconcile both the statements.
The process of devotional service includes Shravanam Kirtanam, obviously, hearing and chanting. And these naturally produce Jnana and Vairagya. If one hears from the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, one gets the perspective by which he or she can be detached from the material world. And as we hear in the Bhagavatam, by continuing the hearing and chanting process, Krishna helps the devotee from within the heart. Shrinvatam swakata Krishna punya shravana kirtana hridyantak stohya badrani vidunoti suritsatam. Vidunoti, there's a systematic way in which, I don't know if it's systematic, but Krishna has his own devices. When he sees that you're hearing and chanting, then he's very attentive to help from within the heart to remove the obstacles and to make you aware of them. And this is different from the Jnani, who's independently cultivating knowledge in order to liberate himself from the material world. He's not submissively hearing from the Shastra, but he's cultivating knowledge for his own purposes to speculate and figure it out. Therefore, Brahma says, Jnane prayasa mudapasya manta eva. Give up all endeavor to figure it out yourself, but submissively hear from the Shastra. It's a different way, a different approach, different mood of approaching. Yes, Anantadev Prabhu.
Just to follow on from that point, I've also questioned this idea of gaining knowledge while avoiding kind of falling into the jnani spectrum. And as I've understood it, for the devotee, the acquisition of knowledge is not just to have knowledge, but rather to allow one to become firmly established in sambandha. And when you become firmly established in sambandha, then you avoid that kind of jnani tendency of thinking you're something or becoming proud. And I think the example that's given is when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is traveling through South India and he meets the illiterate Brahmin. And the other Brahmanas are making fun of him because he can't read. And Mahaprabhu embraces him and he says, "You've actually understood." And it wasn't that he had knowledge, he didn't have like mundane scholarly knowledge, but he understood sambandha, that who is Krishna and who am I and what is that relationship. And so as I've understood that, our kind of orientation towards knowledge within Krishna consciousness is to become deeply established in that sambandha.
Yes, thank you very much. It's different purposes through which one is hearing.
So Maharaj, in the beginning of the purport of this 12th verse, they were talking about the various yogas, and they said that Karma Yoga is materialistic and all the others are transcendental. So that their Gyan Yoga that they are talking about is Bhakti Mishrit, it is mixed with devotional service to the Lord? Or because I always think that Gyan Yoga you do with your mind and intelligence, which are mundane things. Which are materialist, which is material, right? Not transcendental.
Yeah, any process, unless it's mixed with bhakti, as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu points out in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it won't have any effect anyway. The only reason any of the processes, this comes up in the Madhurya Kadambini also, any of the processes, jnana, karma, they only are effective because there's some semblance or at least a trace of bhakti that's included in them. Yes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you for the wonderful class. I liked one example that you gave of the Weight Watchers app having a barcode scanner and tells us whether it is good for us or not and where it will take us. And I really liked how you led us into thinking would be nice to have such an app for everything in our life. And then you said our mind can become that if we properly train it every day by reading scriptures. So that was wonderful, the way you took it out. So thank you.
Yeah, so you can notice this yourself. If you've studied the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita for the day, and then you go out into the world and you see something. And I was thinking, last night, I said this to Nirkula, I said of all the people I know, the one, I said, who do you think is the ones that have the most sense of entitlement in this world? You know what I mean by entitlement? An attitude of entitlement is like, I deserve that, I should have it. Who has it? You said kids? Okay, pretty close. I said the senses. My senses, they always look at everything, it's like, yeah, that's for me. And I'm like, hold on, that's not for you. We're not taking that, But they have it's natural that they go, when you take your senses out into the world, let's go for a little walk. You take them out there, they're all scanning everything. That's for me. And I'm like, nuh-uh. So it does relate to kids, because that's the next thing I thought of. The senses are like little kids, and they want to put everything in their mouth or whatever they do. When they're really little, and then there's a sense, mine, that's mine. So the senses are naturally like that. So we have to have this fortification so that we go, no, not that, this, in order to properly progress on the path of bhakti. Who is next? There was 1, 2, it's going over this direction. Okay, go ahead. You have the mic. Tie goes the runner in field fly rule.
Hare Krishna. So I remember there was this list of 6 things over there where there was also
talk a little closer to the mic.
Yeah, there was a mention of greed in
Yes.
the list of things, in the list of vices or in the list of desires. If you're ambitious and you work hard and you want to be the manager or the director, is that greed, or is that is it wrong to be in devotion but still crave for things or be ambitious?
Well, it really depends what your motive is behind it. That's a distinguishing factor in all of these, because we naturally have ambition because we're spiritual souls. That's what it means to be animate.
Right.
Ambition is natural for a living entity. I mean, anywhere you see a living entity, you're going to see ambition. I have in my garden all kinds of little friends, and I notice how ambitious they are. Like ants. I've never met a more ambitious group of critters in my life. They're down in the ground, below the surface of the earth, and then they build these incredible little palaces down there. And they're working so hard all day and night, throwing little pieces. I watch them. They carry stuff. Come on, Larry, let's carry this. They're carrying things around and moving, and it's like heavy ambition. What's the purpose ultimately?
Right.
They want a nice place to live, and they want to sleep and mate. That's what animals do. And human beings, if we have the same ambition as animals, it's like, I'm ambitious. Why? Because I want to have a big house. Why? Because it'll look good to my family. My family will look and go, she's the successful one in the family. Those other siblings, they're really slackers, and I'll feel better about myself. That's materialistic. But let's say you're ambitious and, like I have a godbrother named Ambarish. And, he comes from a wealthy family. He's a Ford. And he gave a little down payment on the TOVP of $25 million. And then he's been working tirelessly, almost to the point of, stressing his health to travel all over the world to collect the rest of the money in order to build it more. And why? What's his ambition for building that place? It's Prabhupada said he wanted it. He had a vision of that, and he said, this is very important to me. So as a disciple, Ambarish then said, okay, Prabhupada wants it, I'll move heaven and earth, I'll give away my money, whatever it is, I'm going to get that. So that's a different kind of ambition. So if we're working hard just to, get another little ant hive, just like the ants work hard, it's useless. It doesn't mean anything.
Well, if you're working hard because you want to give back, because you feel like you're adding value to an organization, or you want to help
good.
others, then
we like that.
Okay.
Do more. Yeah, like some devotees, sometimes they'll, we know one devotee who's always anonymous and keeps himself anonymous, but he's held on to his job even though he didn't have to, and even though he didn't want to, for the last 2 years, because he said, I can give big donations, especially, at the end of the year, I think I'll keep it. So he keeps working hard despite of that, and somebody else might give up their job because then they become ambitious that they want to do full-time service. But stay ambitious, but make sure you check your motive. Why are you ambitious? In fact, this word greed is very important in devotional service. It comes up, Krishna Bhakti Ras Bhavitomati Kriyatam Yadi Kritopi Labhyate Tata Lalim Api Mulyam Ekalam Janma Koti Sukritirna Labhyate. First, this verse says that you can't get bhakti just by doing pious work. For millions of years you can work, you won't get bhakti at all. There's only one price that you can pay to get bhakti. You want to know what it is? Greed. You have to be greedy. You have to be ambitious for it. It's like, I want that more than anything else. We know what it's like to be greedy, right? If you have that same focus of mind, I'm greedy, but I have to have this. That's your ambition. You can't even sleep at night because you want bhakti so much. You want to please Krishna. So that's the price.
Isn't it a natural process that you don't run away from? It should not be forced, in the sense that it should be a natural process that you stray away from greed for other things, but greed towards bhakti, right? So it has to be a natural process.
It is a natural process because we have that already within our heart. Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoi Shravanadi Chitta Shuddha Chitte Kare Udoy. If bhakti is not coming from outside, it's something natural that's already there, but it comes out by the process of devotional service. So the Krishna's instructions, first in Bhagavad Gita, he recommends to Arjuna, you stay in your work, but at the same time you practice devotional service. What's the verse? Chop, you guys got to wake up. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mama nusmara yudyacha mayarpita mano buddhir mami vaishyasya samshaya. So he's telling Arjuna, you have work to do here, you got to fight this war because you're a Kshatriya. He said, but at the same time, think of me while you do it. And other instructions I talked about earlier, there's a progression in devotional service through which you can attain Krishna. And also, in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Krishna tells Uddhava that Sway sway adhikariya nishta saguna parikirtita. If you act according to your adhikari, your qualification for doing bhakti at the present time, he said that's a guna, that's a good quality. Viparyot doshasya, the opposite is true. If you try to do more than you're qualified for right now, then this is a fault. Try to imitate those who are more advanced and so forth. So, finally, there's more that can be said, but Brahma says, stane stita shrutikatam tanuvan manobir. Stay in your positions. Stane stita means stay where you are. You don't have to adjust externally so much, but do add the process of hearing and chanting to your life, associating with devotees. Then from the inside out, things will naturally start to change. Of course, you should make some adjustments that help you to avoid grossly sinful life, bad association, things like that. But even if you can't get out of that at the present time, if you add devotional service, gradually everything will be clarified and you'll be freed up by the power of the holy name and the Srimad Bhagavatam. Does that make sense? Okay. Thank you. Good questions. Okay.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I really liked your point on the bhakti creeper, that it's growing, that you have to fortify that in your life and how to go about the process of doing that. I absolutely love that. And I wanted to find out, how do we like give up the association of non-devotees, because besides the ISV and besides my little home, I don't have any other association of devotees, you know. So it's really hard, because when you're outside, you're always with association of non-devotees, and everybody is very materialistic, doing other things. You don't want to be getting caught in, you know, those kinds of activities, but, you know, you want to fortify yourself and keep that bhakti kripa growing. But only when, you know, when I enter here, like, you know, this is Vaikuntham for me. I mean, this is beautiful. Here and my home, the association of non-devotees is what it is. Like, how do I keep the creeper alive?
Understood.
Like,
so this is a common conundrum, because you know, we hear this instruction and then we think, oh, well, wait a minute, I have to work. Wait a minute, I have family members who are materialistic and so forth. So what do I do? And what it really means, the essence of this means, not to put yourself in a cave, but it does mean that you have to distinguish between what's good association, and to the good association you open your heart, actually. And those that are not good association, we associate officially, but we don't open our heart. We don't consider, oh yeah, this is actually, they have a good point here. It's you know, the material world isn't that bad. And so Prabhupada mentions that as you're moving about the world, for instance, you go to work and someone says, you know, this computer company is the best in the world, and we're on track this year, and how are you doing, Mr. Perkins? And, you know, he says, yes, sir, very good, sir, of course, sir. This is official. You know, he's working in a certain capacity. It's his a duty to do that right now, and therefore he's on board externally, but internally he's keeping his heart fortified, because he's waiting to open his heart, Guyamakyati Prishati, when he comes in contact with pure devotees. We may even be in association with devotees and find that there are some devotees that we open our heart much wider to than other devotees as well. Of course, every devotee in our minds, anyone who even says Hare Krishna, we're offering obeisances in our minds. This is the instruction of Rupa Goswami. But then he goes on to say, then there are people who say Hare Krishna, there are people who are initiated, which means that they're dedicated, they've made a vow. And then there's people that made that vow and they've actually become advanced. And to those people, you know, you should really try to open yourself, open your heart. Try to get them to open their heart to you by serving them, by giving them your life, and by asking pertinent questions. Because then you're getting the flow. So we just don't open our heart. Prabhupada told a story about that. He said there was an alligator and a monkey. So the monkey's living in a tree. And, you know, every day he's talking to the alligator down below in the lake, and, you know, they start to make friends. And so one day the alligator goes home and he tells his alligator wife, you know, I made a friend. You know, I've been talking to him over the next 3 months. He's one of the nicest people I know. He goes, yeah? Oh, yeah? Who's that? He goes, it's a monkey. Monkey? You made friends with a monkey? He goes, yeah, what's wrong with that? He said, nothing wrong with that, but I want to eat him. In fact, I'm going to eat his heart. So you bring him home. And he goes, I can't bring my friend home for you to eat him. He says, you do what I say. So alligator goes back and goes, I better do what my alligator wife says. So he goes back to under the tree and he said, hey, monkey, you want to come to my house for lunch? He doesn't know that he's the lunch. And monkey says, well, okay. And he jumps on top of the alligator, and the alligator's swimming home, and he says, actually, you're the lunch. My wife wants to eat your heart. And monkey says, oh, you should have told me. Monkeys are smart. I left my heart back up in the tree. Alligator's not so smart. He goes, really? He goes, yeah, really. So he turns around, and he takes him back. Monkey jumps back in the tree and says, see you later, alligator. I want nothing to do with you anymore. And then Prabhupada tells that you keep your heart to yourself. And in fact, it's mentioned in the Bhagavatam that you have to be careful who you reveal things to. In fact, the Bhagavatam says if you have some very profound realization of Krishna, don't reveal it even to your own mind, because it may profane it. What to speak of put it on the internet? Like, hey, guess what? I just saw Krishna. And then everyone's like, you did not, get out of here. Whatever it is, unless you're revealing to people who are on a level, they can understand you, they can appreciate you, they're more advanced than you, or at least as advanced than you, then what's the use of revealing it to them? The intimate things like that. So it's a subtle science of association, and one has to learn it. When we go in Sankirtan, we're not associating with people per se, we're actually giving association because we're just delivery people. We're taking out the message of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and delivering it and so forth. Back in the 70s, there was a theory that came up, somebody propagated that because we're shaking hands, we used to shake hands with everybody, hey, where are you from? Now we do this, it's a little more careful. We used to shake hands with everybody, and somebody propounded and spread some theory that because we're shaking hands with people, we're taking on their karma. So they took that to Prabhupada, and they said, they are not. He said, the preacher's never, the person who goes out, he's transcendently protected. He's not taking on karma at all, or association of the people he's teaching, because he's in a transcendental position. So we have to keep ourselves in a transcendental position, and when we do have to interact with the material world, we have to keep our heart a little protected. And it's not also, I have to add this, it's very important, that we become cold and indifferent to people who are not part of our association. The opposite is said in the Bhagavatam, in the 7th canto, in the section of Narada Muni instructing about Varnashrama. He says, when you're interacting with materialistic people, of course it's official, but he says even family members, they may not be devotees or whatever, they may be attachments, but he said even in those situations, one should externally be very affectionate. See, sometimes in the past, and maybe even at present, devotees have read this thing, you have to be so staunch, and then they'll go home and treat their family members like outsiders. The family members cannot survive in that way. They have to have emotional oxygen. You have to feed them. Just as you feed them food, you actually have to give them love. And so if you take this and you say, I won't associate with anybody, I'll just keep myself cloistered all the time, and if I do associate with them, I'll treat them like strangers, and you start treating other people like that, then this is very damaging. So you have to be careful and know how to adjust the subtleties. There were a couple more. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you for this enlightening class. Going back to the verse Tachaddatana Muneyo, I really like the point about the seriously inquisitive sage or student fortified with knowledge and detachment realizes the absolute truth by rendering devotional service in terms of what he has heard from the Vedic scripture. So it is not as per one's own whims or, I really like that point. Thank you.
Yes, and this is a point that comes up in the Bhakti Samrita Sindhu. Prabhupada quotes frequently, Shruti Smriti Paranadi Panchatriki Vidim Vina Aikantiki Harer Bhaktiru Patayaiva Kalpate. If somebody's doing service to Krishna, but it's not in accordance with the Shruti, Smriti, Panchatriki Vidi, etc., it becomes a disturbance to everybody in the devotional society. You start making things up and inventing things. So you have to be very careful. Otherwise, this becomes a cause for your divergence in devotional service also. Was there one more? Yes, Kanka.
Hare Krishna, thank you for this nice class. I wanted to point out something that Prabhupada said in the New York temple in the early days. He was talking about the purity of water, because we were having that in one of the purports. And he said, why water? It could even be wine. So he was talking about consciousness. Like if we're Krishna conscious, and I wanted to make that point, like when we even go to work, it's like you were just talking about going on Sankirtan. We're giving that, we're being, giving them Krishna consciousness even when we're at work. If we're in that frame of consciousness, if we're in that kind of mind.
Yes, that's altogether possible, and we see it in so many cases that devotees who are integrated with society and who set an example, people begin to inquire from them. As an example, a devotee who lives in somewhere and is a initiated devotee now was taking an English class. And she speaks English, but I guess she was taking extra education. It was a required class. And she noticed something about the teacher that it was unusual in all respects, but she couldn't understand why. And so one day after class, she got up the gumption to go and ask and said, "So I hope you don't mind this question, but you're different." He wasn't externally showing himself as a Vaishnava, although he's a very exalted person. And said, "So what is it about you? I'm noticing, there's something different and special and nice. So what is it?" And he said, "Oh, I'm a Hare Krishna devotee." He said, "What's that?" And he invited her to come to the temple. She saw the deities. That freaked her out. She was a Baptist. And but something happened to her. And, she became attached to the devotees and then to devotional service, became a devotee. And so there's a way, Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Grihastas actually preach more than sannyasis, he says. How is that? Because the sannyasis are supposed to stay aloof from everything. But in my experience in teaching Krishna consciousness over the years, the most effective venue for teaching Krishna consciousness to outsiders or people who are way outside is weddings. One thing is, people are obligated to come to the wedding. They can't get out of it. I did one wedding where there were, I performed the wedding, performed many weddings, but this one was unusual. There were Jehovah's Witnesses in the family. There were Mormons. There were Krishnas, Jews, and Hare Krishnas. And they all had to come together. And when they come for these kind of things, they suspend disbelief. It's all okay because it's a wedding. So this is a fair ground to be like open and appreciate the culture. Big mistake. Then Krishna consciousness comes in. I saw it with my own parents at my own wedding. I mean, they became so favorable after I got married. That was one big thing for them. And the other one was just the coming to the wedding and seeing the deities. And I mean, other times if I came to say, "Here's God," they were like, "I got to go." But there everything's like yay. And when you're yay in front of the deities and everything like that, and all the garlands and the prasadam and the devotees, then you really start off on something. So grihastas can be very effective in integrating in society. Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, attending all these ceremonies and presenting Krishna consciousness. Of course, we even go to funerals. Some of our biggest distribution days for book distribution have been at funerals, right? Right, Malini? So everything can be used in Krishna service. So we scratched the surface a little bit today about the topic of fortifying oneself. And we talked about how it's important to hear and chant regularly. You have to hear every day from Bhagavatam. Be on a schedule so you know how many pages a day you're reading or how many shlokas a day you're reading and or at least a period of time that you're reading every day. You have to read all the books. You have to read the whole Bhagavatam, the whole Chaitanya Charitamrita, Bhagavad Gita, all the books that Prabhupada's put out, and then start over again and keep going until you don't see a material body anymore. And even then you better keep going. And also, we pointed out about how important it is to be discriminating as far as which kinds of desires to keep within one's heart. Be like a gardener and pluck out the unwanted desires within the heart. And how does that start? You may say, I don't have the strength to do it, but at least the awareness has to start and make a distinction between what's good and what's bad. You have to start somewhere. If you just let it all grow, then pretty soon you'll have a forest of weeds and you'll be really sorry about it. We read Brahma Samhita, a few verses, and we heard about the great universe and how everything's coming from a person. And we chanted Jai Radha Madhava, and that's about it. Thank you very much, everyone, for... Yes, Prabhu. Microphone, please.
Thank you, Maharaj. Just want to thank you for a very wonderful nectarian class this morning.
Thank you.
Just one of the main points we discussed today was the vision of a Uttamadhikari.
Yes.
And I wanted to share an example that Prabhupada gives. A very practical example. If you see a shoe or a toy, we simply see a material object. But if a father or a mother sees that, they see the child behind that. So that's Prabhupada gives an example, and you were giving the example of Grasthas. So how even as a Grasthas we can be advanced in spiritual life.
Yes.
In fact, we have a project called Grastha Vision Team, some senior devotees, and their motto, mission statement is, the bonding that liberates us.
Yes. Strengthening the bonds that free us.
That frees us.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Very nice points.
Thank you.
I love that phrase, strengthening the bonds that free us. It's raga dvesha vimuktaistu vishan indriyaishcharan atmavashyar videyatma prasadam arigachati. This is Krishna indicates also the regulative principles of freedom, right? Yes.
And one short Prabhupada pastime in early days in 1966, Jadurani Mata shares a story. Prabhupada used to live in the apartment behind the storefront. And one morning when Prabhupada is coming to the morning program, he steps on a couple of drops of water. And immediately, very sternly, he asks, who dropped the water here? And we usually take water, put Achman or the tilak, we drop some drop of water, we don't even make anything of it. But Prabhupada was observing that every drop of water comes from Krishna and it should not be wasted. And he chastised Mother Jadurani.
Yeah.
So that's the vision of a pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada.
Yes. Thank you very much. So we'll end on that very sweet note. Go Premanande. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo, Bo, Haribo, Nitai Gaura Haribo. Close. Vanchakalpadurvishcha kripasanave vachapatitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha nantakoti vaishnavini ki jai. Yes. I was counting on it. Meeting. So now we're going to have a Guru Puja. So we'll move all the mats and rugs and everything out of the way, and we'll assemble here around Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Everyone, please direct your attention to the Jumbotron. Namashrestham manamapi shachiputram matra sarupam. Together, please. Shri Rupam tasya grajamuruparim matarim goshtavatim. Radha Kundam Girivaramoho Radhika Madhavasham Prapto Yasya Pratita Kripaya Shri Gurum Tandatosmi. He Guru Gyanadari Nabando Swananda Data Korunaika Sindo Vrindavana Sinahitavata Rasita Radha Pranaya Pracharo. I bow down to the beautiful lotus feet of my spiritual master, by whose causeless mercy I have attained the supreme holy name, the divine mantra, the service of the son of Shachi Mata, the association of Srila Swarup Damodar, Rupa Goswami, and his older brother, Sanatana Goswami, the supreme abode of Mathura, the blissful abode of Vrindavan, the divine Radhakund and Govardhan Hill, and the desire within my heart for for the loving service of Shri Radhika and Madhava in Vrindavan. O spiritual master, O giver of divine wisdom, O friend of the fallen, you are the giver of your own bliss, and you are the only ocean of mercy. Although dwelling in Vrindavan, you have descended for the welfare of fallen souls like myself, and you are preaching the divine love of Radha for Krishna. Please be kind upon us. The lotus feet of our spiritual master are the only way by which can attain devotion. I bow down to his lotus feet with great awe and reverence. By his grace, one can cross the ocean of material suffering and attain the mercy of Krishna. Our only wish is to have our consciousness purified by the words emanating from his lotus mouth. Attachment to his lotus feet is the perfection that fulfills all desires. He opens our darkened eyes and fills our hearts with transcendental knowledge. He is our Lord, birth after birth. From him ecstatic prema emanates. By him ignorance is destroyed. The Vedic scriptures sing of his character. Our spiritual master is the ocean of mercy, the friend of the poor, and the Lord and master of the devotees. O Master, be merciful to us. Give us the shade of your lotus feet. Your fame is spread all over the three worlds. We keep an aisle open in front of Prabhupada here, and we alternate between the men and the women offering flowers, so it's back and forth like that. Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Shri Guru Charana Padma Kevala Bhakati Sadma Bando Mui Savadanamate. Please offer flowers. Bando Mui Savadanamate. Jahara Prashari Bhai Bhava Tori Hajai. Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te. Just take flowers and leave it there. Krishna Prapti Hoy Jaha Hoy Te. Gumu Mukha Padma Vakya Chite Te Ko Riya Oikya. Anakori ho mane asha. Anakori ho mane asha. Shri Guru Charane Ratiye Shayu Tamagati. Jai Prashade Pure Sarva Asha. Jai prashade pure sarva asha. Chakudan dilo je janme janme prabhu she. Divya gyan hre prokashita. Divya gyan hre prokashita. Prema bhakti ja hoite avidya vinasa jate. Prema bhakti ja hoite avidya vinasa jate. Dere gai jahara charita. Dere gai jahara charita. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu. Shri Guru Karuna Sindhu Adama Janara Bandhu. Lokanath Lokera Jivana. Lokanath Lokera Jivana. Ha ha Prabhu Kora Doya Te Amore Para Chaya. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Srimate Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarine. We'll go down a little bit. Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jeev Jago, Jeev Jago, Gaura Chandra Bole. Kota Nidra Jao Maya Pishachi Rakole Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Vajiva boliya eshe Samsara bitare Bhuliya rohile tumi abijara bare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Tomare loite ami hoinu avatara Ami bina bandhu aro ke ache tomara Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Enechia Shaudhi Maya Nashe Barulagi. Harinam Maha Mantra Lao tu mi magi. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Bhakti Vinora Prabhu Charane Poriya. She Hari Nama Mantra Loilo Magiya. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hey, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai go Haribo, 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 Nitai go Haribo. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Taigo Premanande, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Harinam Mantra ki, Harinam Prabhu ki, Go Premanande. Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Srimad Abhay Charanada Vinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajakacharya Stotra Srimad Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj ki Jai. Nanta Kodi Vaishnavin ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Hari Dasa Thakur ki Jai. Prem Zagaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gokupinath Shamakund Radhakund Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Mayapur Navadip Dham ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi ki, Jamuna Devi Ganga Devi ki, Samveda Bhaktivinoda ki. All glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees, all glorious assembled devotees. Go Premanande Haribo. So the new year has started. We're in the second month already. First month, we've been meeting and planning, talking. Many of you individually have been, no talking. Many of you individually have been setting goals, getting ready for the new year. This is all very progressive because the Goswamis, Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gananatibi, they were very careful to measure their progress in devotional service and to move to the next level here at ISV, trending towards world class. We always have to use whatever facility we have, whatever techniques there are, in order to get Krishna's energies in such a way that we can spread Krishna consciousness all over the world, and do it in a way that's very pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, and it gives more and more access to Krishna consciousness people around the world. So our goal here at ISV is to serve all living entities by widely spreading the holy names. And now we're coming into the second month. It's a good time to start enacting, not that we haven't already, but to really taking seriously the kinds of goals and plannings that we've been putting into place. Don't let anything slip through, but keep the kinds of information that we've gathered so far, and don't be afraid to put it into practice, so that you can get a good head start in this new year. We have renewed goals for the year. Sankirtan parties are already starting to go out again, right? In fact, they never stopped, really. And Malini has a few announcements about the Sankirtan party in general and for today.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. I was just reflecting from this morning's class that you gave, Prabhu, that how all this importance of reading and how this Shastra helps our mind to scan different things. And the example that you gave about the verse in Bhagavad Gita which starts with attachment and then it spirals down. And the story of Srimad Bhagavatam that you mentioned about Pururava and Urvashi. I was thinking it is so easy for new people who receives the Srimad Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita to understand the principles of Bhagavad Gita live in action in Srimad Bhagavatam. So how fortunate we are that we are given this responsibility to pass it down to everybody in this Bay Area and beyond. So with that in mind, we are also doing, we also started distribution of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita sets because we are approaching Gaur Purnima in March. So from now till Gaur Purnima, we'll also focus on distributing Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita sets. I wanted to request, Prabhu, if you can tell us a few things on why we should be distributing Chaitanya Charitamrita to everybody, and a few things that we can share with others as well.
One main thing is that Srila Prabhupada was very fond of Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. In fact, he enacted a marathon to get it published as quickly as possible. There was a professor named Dimak, who was professor of academic scholar of Gaudiya Vaishnavism, who was going to come out with a translation of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Prabhupada definitely wanted to beat him to the punch. And he also, Prabhupada was on an expedited schedule because he didn't know how long he had, and he wanted to make sure to get as much out to all the people as possible. And that Chaitanya Charitamrita was a special labor of love. He actually called all the GBCs and leaders from all over the world in 1975 to come to Los Angeles just so he could stage this request to the BBT head, Rameshwar, and Gopijana Vallabha Prabhu on Venice Beach, where he ordered them that they had to print all of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, 17 volumes, within 2 months, which at that time was literally impossible. But then Prabhupada reversed the impossible, and there was a subsequent marathon in Los Angeles to produce it. Sometime after that, there was a devotee who was setting up a prasadam cart, and one of the things he wanted to sell, because he was a really good cook, also was Bengali sweets. And so the Chaitanya Charitamrita had already come out, and he had told Prabhupada this plan, and I'm going to be marketing them, selling them on the street, these Bengali sweets. And Prabhupada pointed to Tripurari. He was one of the leaders of book distribution at the time, and we were selling the Chaitanya Charitamritas together, all the teams, and he said, they're selling the real Bengali sweets, indicating the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita is the most esoteric and brilliantly written and important literature to reveal to the world Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So what? At this time in history, maybe there's only a few people that can understand what it is, but hardly people can even read a book nowadays. Well, it's very difficult. People have very short attention spans and they're extremely distracted. But the work of disseminating this knowledge to the world has to be done. Books are permanent, especially sets of books. When they go out, they'll stay there for a long period of time. The Chaitanya Charitamrita is a garland of verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which prove the siddhanta of the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and bring to light the fact that he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It's the book that brought Bhaktivinoda Thakur through his Leela, Acharya Leela, he was showing that this progression of studying all the world religions and then coming to this point that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was the Western savior, and that he would bring that all over the world, and that he had synthesized all the philosophies of the world perfectly, and it was the philosophy to bring out to everybody. And so Chaitanya Charitamrita is vitally important. And this morning when I had those two books on my stand, I was thinking, they look like gold, molten gold. They're so beautiful, and it's of the golden avatar. So what an opportunity we have to stay in contact with Srila Prabhupada through distributing a book that he vitally wanted to have available to people all over the world. And what a time in history to do it. And what a place to do it here at Silicon Valley. We can take advantage of this confluence.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. So today we have Western Sankirtan team, because it's raining outside, they are going to Indian stores. One Indian store in Dublin is confirmed. The other one, Fremont, is they're deciding which spot. Kids Sankirtan team, they are going to door, either in Ramratis Prabhu in Fremont or is in Fremont. And they're also planning to go to ICC in Fremont. And corporate Sankirtan team, they're going to Apna Bazaar and Sai Temple in Sunnyvale. And we are actually one team going for Chaitanya Charitamrita and Bhagavatam distribution to Dublin.
Dublin?
Yes.
Wow.
Dublin, San Ramon, that's where all
Good,
the...
not in Ireland, right? Okay.
So Dublin. That's all the announcement, Prabhu. And there is one announcement. 2 days ago, it was Rasika Shiromani Mataji's birthday.
Really? Rasika Shiromani, you have, of course, in the beginning I didn't know who you were, but then it emerged through watching what you do all over the world, quietly from behind the scenes, organizing huge Vaishnava events and inspiring devotees, therefore, from all over the world. And somehow or other, when you came here, I couldn't believe our good fortune. When you and Govindacharan came here, and every day, practically, I pinch myself out of our fortune that you and Govindacharan Prabhu are here. We thank you for what you're doing for Srila Prabhupada's movement all over the world. And we pray that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Srila Prabhupada, Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Lakshmi Nrsingadev, the Panchatattva will empower you more and more to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And everybody who agrees with this, please say Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Speech.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, Vaisesika Prabhu, for your kind words of encouragement. We feel ourselves so fortunate to be in this ISV association. Though we don't come to the temple or to the programs that often, but we take so much of association from the community. We feel ourselves fortunate and very grateful for all the association you are giving us. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Cooks and cleaners, past and future.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Today's prasadam was cooked by Simantani Sakhi Mataji, Vijay Damodar Prabhu, Tara Mataji, Aname, and Gora. And today's cleaning was done by Vijay Damodar Prabhu and Tara Mataji.
Haribol! Any other announcements? Yes.
Due to good fortune, we have one devotee joining. He just graduated. His name is Akshay Prabhu, and he joined just nearby in Mountain View, a company. Where is he? Yeah, please. So he's coming from New York, and today is first day here. He just landed yesterday from New York, and
welcome. Landed from New York from?
he was studying there in New York University, and then he graduated and he got job just nearby here, Mountain View.
Is you an old friend of yours?
Well,
new friend.
New friend.
What is your major? Computers.
Computer science.
Computers, okay. Well, thank you very much for coming here. We pray to Lord Chaitanya that you'll stay here for a long time and help us to spread the Sankirtan movement. Everybody agrees with this, please say Hare Krishna. Haribol. Thank you very much. Anything else?
Hare Krishna. We have Anshuman Prabhu, who is my co-worker, and he's visiting from Bangalore. So I'd just like us all to welcome him. He has been attending ISKCON temples there.
Hare Krishna. I have been involved with Krishna consciousness for quite some time, 12 years now, even though I try to go to ISKCON temple in Bangalore. I have, there are multiple temples and I visit them, but there's no better peace and bliss than just being part and parcel of this whole movement.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Haribol. So, any other announcement? Now we're going to sing the prayers for honoring Prasadam. Sharira vijaja jotendriya dahika jive pile vishaya shagare karma je jiboyati loba moisu gurmati Take jeta katita shankare Krishna bora doyamor Kori bare jihajar Shaprashad anadilo bahar Shayanamrita pao Radha Krishna Gunaga Preme Dako Sri Chaitanya Dita Vaire Ekadina Shanti Pure Prabhu Advaitira Gare Gui Prabhu Bojane Boshilo Shakori Ashwadhana Prabhu Bole Bhakta Gana Eshak Krishna Ashwadhilo Heno Shak Ashwadhane Krishna Prema Oishe Mane She Preme Toro Ashwadhan Jada Buri Parihari Prasara Bhujana Kori Hari Hari Bolo Sarvajan Hari Hari Bolo Sarva Jan Maharashade Govinde Nama Brahmari Vaishnave Kalpa Punya Vadam Rajan Vishasto Navijaya Prasade Sarva Dutanam Haniyasyo Pajayate Prasanate Taso Yashu Mudipaya Vatishta Swayopa Bhukta Shaganda Vasalankara Charchitaha Uchishta Bojino Dasyas Savamayam Jayamahi Bhagavad Shri Mahaprasada Ki Gopremanande Nitai Gaura Haribo 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 Sai Gaur Haribo. Please come take prasadam. Haribo. Prasadam will be served